valve portion of our hydraulics is installed. We have quick couplers on those jumper lines, the short lines. So if you were to need to move the tractor or run the tractor at this point, the hydraulic system is essentially back together. I would suggest before routing those to go ahead and mount the front bulkhead mount on the tractor. And go ahead and leave these loose because they'll certainly need to move once we get up there. Remove the Kubota M8x35s using a 12mm socket. Now we can't reuse these bolts. The thickness of our bulkhead bracket is 5/16, and there's not enough bolt left on the M8x35s to reinstall those. So your kit will include some M8x40mm hex bolts to go back into the tap holes here. There's no nut to hold on these, so that makes that an easy installation. This is the direct fit kit, so we have measured that tractor and tried to provide you with the easiest and best bulkhead mount. Get into our hardware kit here. I'm going to take out the M8x40 bolts, a couple of M8 washers. Go ahead and position that back as we had it before. And if it's easier, you can remove the lines. It's normally not necessary. They are just hand tightened, as I said before, to the bulkhead fittings here. All right, with the bulkhead installed on the front, we're going to run our boom lines. And this particular kit fits a couple of loaders. We've got somewhat of a small loop at the front of the loader. 94-inch boom lines. You can go ahead and let the loop lay out to start with and get it connected. You want to reach down to the quick couplers that were installed on the stub lines coming off of your valve and go ahead and connect the third function. So with that hooked up and with a loop up here, you give plenty of hose for lifting the loader. We want to tie this down with the zip ties included in your kit. You want to keep these hoses together as much as possible. You want to tie them out here at the front of your boom to the tubes on the tractor. I'm going to get a couple of the zip ties in the kit. This keeps your hoses together. You want to make sure that these are tight enough at the front that we don't get over into the brush guard on the tractor when the loader works up and down. I wouldn't worry about clipping those until we have them installed. But you want to tie this back here to your hoses as well as to the tube mounts up front. And you want to bind these two hoses together towards the rear. The hydraulic portion of your kit is now being installed. This is our Scorpion control handle. We have these made with a 6-foot lead already wired into the handle. There are 2 buttons in this handle. I use the same handle whether I have a universal kit or whether I have a direct fit kit. In the direct fit kit, I actually use both of the buttons. I open with one and close with the other on my lids or my clam or whatever the third function you're operating in. We order these with a bushing, and I've pre-bored this bushing for the purposes of doing our video here today. We have an aluminum bushing in the bottom of this. It's easy to drill. I drilled this one with a hand drill. It has a small hole in the center. You want to come to your tractor and take the knob. Some of them come off fairly easily. This one comes off fairly easily. You want to take the knob off of your loader control handle, and you want to measure that and drill this bushing to match. Now it's very important. This bushing has a pair of small set screws in it. You need to back those set screws out before drilling it, or you will cut the front off the set screws when you drill, and then of course they won't bite. These are hollow-ended set screws, and they're tiny, so I don't know if you can see it here in the video. They have a cup on the end, and that actually bites into your handle or into the loader control rod to secure this Scorpion control handle. Once you have that drilled, you can reinstall these or run them back in. Go ahead and put the bushing into the Scorpion handle before putting it up there. You want to run this down on the now exposed loader handle. That's got a little bit of adjustment to it. Just put it wherever's comfortable, and you can move this afterwards. You just don't want to get the cable tied up so tight that you can't move it. You've got the loader control handle sitting the way the operator is going to be holding it. We'll run the set screws in now. Tighten it as tight as you can get it with this Allen wrench, and then back it off. That hollow end is actually cutting a chip. If you'll tighten it tight and then back it off and retighten it, it'll actually get a better bite into the handle. Once you've got this tight, you make sure that the threads on your handle are actually tight. Go ahead and tighten up our other set screw here. If you have a loader valve that has a boot, I'm going to go ahead and remove that boot to make this installation as neat as possible. It's a little difficult to work in. It makes a lot better installation if you can go ahead and run that through the boot. Now the moving parts are all in the area above this channel, so we want to run our cable down through the boot and down this side, and we'll tie it off. We'll try to keep all the wires as together as possible, feeding them through here. They'll just be easier to work with if you don't beat them up any more than you have to in this process. Once you get them fed down, the cable will actually go through the boot relatively easily. And you'll want to pull it through and get all of the slack through before sliding the boot back down. Pull the boot down, you've got the slack out of your cable. You can go ahead and reinstall the boot on your loader valve. We want to put one zip tie up here. We want to route this cord down. We're going to be going into the valve cover in a moment. So I'm going to go ahead and run this through the opening in my valve, or in my valve mounting plate, excuse me. Once we get it over here, it'll be going into the terminal block at the front of the conduit block at the front of the valve. We want to bring it down here. We'll tie it off to the valve mounting subplate. And then we're going to have to lift our loader to complete. At this point in our setup, we need to raise the loader to complete the electrical installation. So we can check 2 points on this system for leaks at this point. We won't be able to check our third function, but we need to know if we're leaking on our series connection at this point anyway. So I'm going to crank this tractor. I'll be looking at my Power Beyond connection here. I'll be looking at the connections on P and T on either side of my valve, which are visible from the operator's seat. And I'll be looking where I plumbed into the Power Beyond connection in the power distribution block. We're going to go ahead and fire the tractor up and raise our loader. Go ahead and shut my tractor off again right here. I've left the loader valve up. We want to take every opportunity to be as safe as we can. There are no mechanical locks on this particular tractor except our loader valve lock. And you want to be certain to set that so that your loader valve handle is now inoperable, because we're going to be working under the right side of the loader boom, doing the remainder of our electrical installation. Conduit box style valve. I want to get my smaller Phillips screwdriver here. But the conduit box valve means that all my wiring goes on in what they call a conduit box on the top. The valves are drilled for wires to come in and out. They come in and out of the bottom of the conduit box. We try to take great pains to make sure that we do it that way so we don't fill the valve up with water. There's 4 screws in the top of the conduit box. Just have to remove those.